think that's everyone. Hi there, everybody. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. It's lovely to see a few of you that have dialed in this afternoon. So thanks again. My name is Becky. My name's Becky Richards, and I'm the team leader for Warwickshire's Children and Young People's Drug and Alcohol Service. And I'm joined today by my colleague Gemma, and this is Gemma Austin, and Gemma is a health and wellbeing practitioner. So Gemma's kind of on the front line really, and she's out there delivering directly to our interventions to our children and young people. What I will do, I'll make a start obviously with the presentation, and we just ask if you guys wouldn't mind just muting yourselves, just so it prevents any feedback throughout the presentation. Unfortunately, we don't have an opportunity throughout the presentation for questions as much as we would like to. But however, when we get to the last slide, there will be a lot of contact details on there. So if you did want to get in touch with some questions or just discuss something or share something, please do feel free to get in touch with us, give us a call, drop us an email, whatever you're comfortable doing. But we will be around for that at any point, whether that's today or tomorrow, whenever. So what I'll do now is I'll make a start with the presentation. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, and I hope that everybody can see that okay. So as I said, welcome to the, it's a parent carer workshop on risk taking and peer pressure. And I'll start talking through the slides. And bear with me, let's hope we don't get any technical glitches. So we usually this will last between 20 and 30 minutes, and I've just obviously asked you to mute your microphones. And I've talked about questions, so please just make yourselves comfortable. We hope you enjoy. So just to give you an overview really of the service that we offer, we've broken it down. So we are a drug and alcohol service for young people. And we work and support with children from the ages of 5 right through to the ages of 25. So it's quite a broad spectrum. And we support children and young people that are wanting to do something about their drug and alcohol use. So it is a voluntary service. So the young people that come into service are there saying, hang on, I've recognised I've got a bit of a problem, I need some support. It's starting to impact on my education, on relationships. So we do need the young person's consent to be able to work with them. So from the age of 13 up, we would ask that we have written consent from the young person. If they're in a primary school or under the age of 12, we do then ask for parent carer consent as well. So yeah, we also have what we've recently launched our Compass Stars, as you can see there top right. Compass Stars strand to the service. So what that is basically is hidden harm. I don't know if any of you would have heard of that term, hidden harm, but we support children that are affected by somebody else's drug and alcohol use. So it could be mum, dad, anyone within the family, and if their use has become problematic and then had a negative kind of impact on the children and young people within that family setting, then we'll step in and deliver some support there to that child or young person. So usually that looks like kind of one-to-one work. We'll go into schools, see the child. We have a specialist lead within the team that delivers those interventions, and she's actually a counsellor by trade. Outside of that, as I said, our normal kind of call work, we get referrals from all different sources. We get self-referrals, we have teachers who refer in, we have family members that also will refer their children in if they feel they want support. And a lot of our work is carried out in schools. However, we are flexible, and if the young person doesn't want to be seen at school, then we'll look at alternative venues. Outside of COVID, we would meet young people in Costa's or Cafe Nero's. And it is strictly a confidential service, so we hope that our young people feel confident in talking to us really about anything. Usually we find that drug and alcohol use doesn't come on its own. It's usually a side effect of other things really that's going on for that young person, or it could be, and some of the stuff I guess that we'll talk about today in terms of risk taking and peer pressure. So obviously peer pressure does play a big part in it. We try and do a lot of work with our year sixes, so we'll go into primary schools really to prep them for what's coming up potentially in year 7 and going into high school, and looking at how, you know, some of the potential situations that they might face and how to handle those, what to do, because unfortunately we know there is peer pressure, it is out there. So we'll go into school and do one-to-ones, like I said, we'll do whole group assemblies, and we'll also go and deliver some targeted work, some more targeted work. So we quite often will have schools approach us and say, oh, we've noticed that there's a lot of cannabis use happening outside of the school gates. We know there's a lot of children using it, or young people. Could you come in and deliver a piece of work around that? So we are targeting whatever that problem is that school's highlighted. So we'll go in and that could be in a group work session, or like I said, a whole assembly. We also support obviously the families as well, you know, and we get a lot of phone calls through from parents and carers, you know, who ring us at their wits' end, unfortunately, you know, where they know their child or young person is using substances or binge drinking alcohol, and all that risk taking kind of that comes with that, and vulnerability. So we do support parents and carers too, if you feel that would be helpful. And smoking cessation, we also deliver smoking cessation. So if we have young people that are saying they're smoking, they want some help to stop, we will deliver interventions specifically around that as well. And we do look at nicotine replacement therapy as part of that intervention. We also have, as you can see bottom left there, we're really proud to be able to offer equine therapy. So we have 2 practitioners that are specifically working with the youth justice services and young people that are at risk of criminality, and risk taking around that. So we have a practitioner that is horse mad, and she lends us her pony, and we're able then to deliver equine therapy to some of our young people, and that has been absolutely brilliant. We're really proud of that. And then finally, obviously, you know about the school nurses and Warwickshire School Health. And obviously, we're all employed by Compass, and we work together as well to deliver interventions and support one another's services in doing that. So that is an overview. I think there's probably a whole lot more. I could talk about it all day, as you could probably notice, but I'm going to stop there and move on to the next slide. So let's see. Okay, so today we hope that through this webinar, you'll be able to, or will help you develop your understanding of risk-taking behaviour and what this means for young people and where to get help. So we'll do that by increasing your knowledge about different risk-taking behaviours, and then sharing practical tips on spotting the signs and so on. And to be able to provide a bit of support to you via this, and guidance, and more importantly, I guess, is about signposting to specialist support services. Okay, and I'm just going on to the next slide, which I think is Gemma. Over to you, Gem.
Thanks, Beck. Okay, yeah, so the next couple of slides are going to be on risk taking and the most common risks associated with substance misuse. So we've got here that teenagers and young adults take more risks than any other age group, and it is normal for them to kind of push those boundaries and take those risks. You know, it can be a big part of a young person's life in kind of finding their identities, and also kind of growing up and becoming independent young adults. However, obviously we do know that some of these risks are negative, and they can have a harmful consequence on a teenager's health, safety and well-being. We have noticed that through kind of trends and experiences of going into secondary schools, that kind of cannabis, alcohol and tobacco are the substances that teens usually experiment with in the earlier stages of adolescence. And we are also seeing a big rise in young people taking nitrous oxide, commonly known as laughing gas. You might have seen these silver canisters in your parks or your local areas, and we are noticing a big push, you know, in kind of raising awareness on that because of its popularity at the moment. Just some statistics on that from the NHS website. So in 2018, 44% of secondary school students reported in drinking alcohol well, to have had an alcoholic drink. 8% had tried cannabis, and then in addition to that, 23% had tried nitrous oxide. So alcohol is still kind of the substance of choice at the moment within secondary schools, at 44%, but nitrous oxide at 23% is quite high. I think these figures just show kind of how readily available maybe these products are for young people. We know that nitrous oxide, it is legal and you can buy it online and in some shops, and it is legal to do that. I have got a slide specifically on that, so I'll go into more detail about the nitrous oxide in a moment. And then peer pressure, like we said, can play a major factor in contributing to someone using substances for the first time. I think teenagers feel the pressure to keep up with friends, trends, to fit into certain peer groups. We are getting trained in a program called Boomerang, which we have got in our diaries to be trained on, and that is kind of a resilient building program, so we can hopefully teach young people to kind of build some resilience. I know the school nursing team are already offering that that program at the moment, so we're hoping to roll that out into our service as well. Thanks, Beck. Okay, so this slide is just some of the common risks which are associated with substance misuse. So we've got the first one here, which is binge drinking. So binge drinking, drinking lots of alcohol in a short space of time. This can be really risky because it can then put that young person at risk of losing self-control, misjudging risky situations, and also accidents which can result into injury. Within our team, we do have a co-location at UHCW, so the hospital in Coventry. So we have a presence on ward 14, which is the adolescence ward within the hospital. We go there once a week, and we normally come into contact with young people who have either drank too much alcohol or taken a substance which hasn't agreed with them, and they might have had an accident or lost self-control or misjudged a risky situation. When we're in the hospital, we will have a brief intervention with that young person, and also we will help to kind of hopefully get a referral signed from them at that point, and then hope that we can kind of carry on that work with them once they've left the hospital, and whether we can kind of carry on those interventions with them to do some further work. We hope that would kind of give them more awareness, discuss what kind of happened, the possible risks that they were exposed to, and obviously, like number 5 says here, vulnerability, and that they put themselves in a vulnerable position. So we hope to kind of raise awareness on that. We've got here memory and brain development. So again, substances can impact on a young person's development of their brain and their memory. Substances like cannabis and alcohol, the chemicals in there that those substances release, can impact that development. And then we've obviously got the physical and mental health impacted. So we've got physical impacts on the body, which can be, organ damage related to alcohol. So with your liver, physical dependence, again with alcohol, it is a physically addictive substance. Things like blackouts, headaches, sickness, blurred vision, loss of coordination. These are some of the physical impacts and effects that substances can have on a young person. And then we also noticed that there are some mental impacts as well. So that could be obviously the psychological dependence on the substance itself. So that could be maybe cannabis. That would be you could become psychologically addicted to cannabis. Things like anxiety, low mood, and anger and aggression as well are some effects that can be mentally impacted. We notice that when we do work with young people, that they normally when they come into the service, they might have maybe already been struggling with anxiety and low mood, and they might use substances as kind of a coping strategy to kind of deal with those low moods and anxieties. So we work really closely with kind of mental health services as well within our team. So that's CAMS, RISE, IAPT, Coventry, Warwickshire Mind, and we're hoping to kind of develop into some kind of joint working partnership between the two services, because we are noticing that the two kind of are going hand in hand. So yeah, that's that one.
Okay.
Thanks, Bet. So yeah, this is just a quick slide on nitrous oxide. So like I said, we are noticing that it has become really popular at the moment, due to obviously the amount of canisters that we are finding and that have been reported, you know, to us, that people have found on the streets. It's like, it comes like a silver canister that you might see. It is legal, so it is used in hospitals and dentists. You know, it's known as gas and air. Obviously, within those environments, it is under, you know, safe hands with the nurses and the doctors. However, it has now come into kind of, I suppose, out onto the streets, and young people have decided to misuse this, and they're noticing that they can get high off it. What they would do is you would dispense the silver canister into a balloon and then inhale the gas through the balloon. So yeah, it's known as laughing gas or balloons, and young people have started to use it recreationally. What we are finding is that, you know, I suppose the risks around this is that if young people aren't, I suppose we could do like a harm reduction piece on how young people can kind of be safe. And, you know, some people wouldn't know to dispense the canister into a balloon. If you were to hail it straight through, and that can cause things like suffocation, because it cuts off your oxygen levels. People have reported nerve damage and loss of feeling in their fingertips. It can cause anemia because it does, you know, deplete those vitamin 12s. And another danger is that it can cause burns to the skin. We've recently teamed up with Nuneaton and Bedworth County Council, and so with their community safety team, we've kind of, because they've noticed obviously a lot of the canisters, we've joined up with them to kind of raise a lot more awareness on this. So there's a number at the bottom of the screen there where you can report when you find the canisters. That would be within Nuneaton and Bedworth Council for the time being. Yeah, so that's that one. Thanks,
Okay.
Bet.
Thanks, Jen. Okay, we'll just move on to the next slide then. So obviously talking about, we've kind of alluded to, there's a lot of risk taken, unfortunately. That's the reality, you know, for young people, that you know, we've talked about risks and vulnerabilities, and yeah, it is happening. It's happening across Warwickshire, where our children and young people are finding themselves into potentially really risky situations. So I guess this slide is kind of talking about, you know, if you do know a young person well, and whether because you're their parent or carer, or from a teacher's perspective, you know, you learn to know about children and young people and their behaviours and what is normal. So this slide really just is some of the key indicators that we've picked up on, and from talking to parents and carers and you know, education and staff, about spotting the signs. So it's just some of the things that you might see. So if we do have a young person that is engaging in, you know, some risk taking, they have become vulnerable. We know that CSE and CE is happening, so that's criminal exploitation, sexual exploitation. These are just some of the things that you might notice. So, you know, perhaps a sudden change in behaviour, a sudden change in their mood levels, you know, generally are they okay, you know, and suddenly it could go either way, that their mood suddenly dips very low, or quite the opposite, that they're suddenly very elevated and very happy. A change in relationships, again, and friendships, certainly. So you may notice that you know, they're suddenly forgetting all the friends that they've grown up with, and they're engaging in new relationships, and suddenly hanging out with new people, and you don't know who these people are. An impact on education, so academic stuff, you know, suddenly that actually you think they're going to school, and then you're getting phone calls to say, oh, you know, where is your son or daughter? They haven't been here, and they certainly haven't been at home. And also a change in kind of their motivation at school, so grades are slipping, is another sign. A change in, we talk about hobbies, so, you know, if they've had a kind of lifelong interest in a certain hobby or sports, and other activities, that suddenly changes as well. Money is a big one, so the financial side of things. So we do hear about that a lot. And it could be either, it could be that they suddenly have far less money, or money's going missing, or actually one of the big ones is that they suddenly have a lot more. And you're noticing that they suddenly have access to a lot of money. I mean, that's a big indicator. And with that as well is a change in appearance. So they could, you might notice that a young person suddenly has the latest Nike Airs, or lots of new clothes, jewelry, things like that, so they suddenly have access either to more money and they're buying that themselves, or somebody else is actually using that as a way in to gain access to your child and almost buying them. A general kind of a decrease in motivation generally, really, with everything, and it ties in with all the other stuff around not being interested in school and friends, hobbies and that kind of thing, and being secretive. And I know I live with a teenager, and sometimes they are anyway, and I wouldn't want to kind of unnecessarily alarm parents and stuff that are reading this, because some of this does come hand in hand with young people. I guess it's more about a sudden change, and suddenly just not wanting to engage or speak with you or speak with family members. So like I said, they're just some of the key indicators, really. And I think the next slide, talks about, I mean, what do we do in that situation? And how do we talk? There is support out there to kind of, if you would like some advice around how to have some of these difficult conversations with your child or young person. Because some of these conversations, they can be really, really tricky to kind of get going, and it's trying to find the right time as well. And I suppose the key is to stay calm, and it's to have some confidence yourself in being able to have that conversation. So going in armed with some information, as I've said at the bottom there, particularly if it's around substances, there are websites you can go to learn a little bit more about this. You can talk to us, that's what we're here for. But it's not just about substances, it's about all sorts of different things that could be going on. I think our young people have a lot to deal with nowadays, and certainly speaking from experience of living with a teenager, she's just going into year 10. So we've been having these difficult conversations, I guess, from quite a young age, really from year 6. We were starting to talk about some of the things and some of the potential situations she could find herself in and how to handle that. And more recently, Jen will know that last week my daughter came to me. She's on social media, she has Instagram, she has Snapchat, and she came into me last week to say, "Oh mum, I've had these really dodgy messages through, I've had someone she thinks was posing as a young person and they weren't, and the conversations and messages that she was having through were quite disturbing, really, asking her to do things and then going on to ask her to send a photo of herself." But luckily, she took a really sensible approach with that. As soon as she saw these coming through, she was straight through to me, and we talked about it, and she knew what to do about it in terms of blocking that, and the things the safety kind of precautions that she could put in place. But we've been talking about this now for a long time. As soon as we allowed her to have these access to these forums and stuff, we said this is potentially what could happen, and this is what you do. And just trying to have open and frank conversations, really, over the dinner table or whatever situation, whatever safe space that you've kind of got a home for your children and young people to do that. So just being calm about it, as calm as you can, and encouraging that open and honest, and frank conversations. And it's saying, there's no consequence. You need to bring anything to me. There will be absolutely no. You're not going to get told off for this. It's just about. I want my daughter to go in fully kind of armed and have the knowledge that she needs to be able to have that. And Jem alluded earlier to the Boomerang program, which is about building resilience and stuff and confidence that young people, if they are in a certain situation. I just wanted to know what to do and how to handle that and who to go to as well. It's having that network of people, safe adults, and whether that's family members. And I think it's always good to be outside that as well. So if you've got really close family, friends, anyone. What's important at the end of the day is that they have somebody to go to, whoever that is, whoever they feel comfortable doing it, speaking to. And it could be that there's certain things that are going on that they would go to certain people for certain issues. It depends what it is. But yeah, I think that's the important thing, isn't it? And that's the key, that our young people feel that they can speak to us. But again, it's about having that confidence in ourselves, to be able to have those difficult and sometimes challenging conversations. But there is support out there for that. And again, like I said, we're also the service to come to if you, in terms of substances and misusing substances, if you wanted some support around how to have those conversations, please let us know. And then the next slide, just briefly, I think it's just an example really of some of the tips, that if they're going to do it, if they are going to put themselves in difficult situations, we have young people that are really open about that. They are going to use substances. They tell us that. We're not there to tell them, no, you shouldn't do drugs, as much as inside that's kind of what we're feeling. If you really are going to do it, or if you are going to engage in a certain kind of risk-taking behaviour, obviously we'll put it into the right words, but please do it safely, or as safely as you can. And they're just some examples there about, obviously, make sure your phone is charged up all the time. And if you can, please let a trusted person or adult know where you're going, talk to people, have your network of people ready if you need them. And overall, as a parent or carer, I would say, if you're any doubt, please go to your GP. They will certainly be able to signpost you to the correct or most specialist service to support you with whatever it is that's going on for you and your family at that time. So they'll be able to make those referrals and signposting for you. So again, I think we could go on and talk about this all day. I'm going to flick on now to the next slide, which I think is our final slide, and I'll just hand over to Jem to talk that through. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is just some of the ways that you can kind of get in touch with us. So the top number there is just our office number. That will take you straight through to our office, and you get through to one of the practitioners. You can just give us a call, ask us any question you like about drugs and alcohol. It could be that you're worried about someone, you want to know more about it yourself, or how to help someone. We've also got a text messaging service, so that's the first number there. That's the parent line text message service. We're on that 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and we also do that jointly with the school nursing team. So whatever the question is, whoever the service, whatever service it's appropriate for, will answer that question. And then the same again for the young person's chat health. So if you want to take both those numbers down, you've got one for yourself there, and also one for your child or young person that you want to pass that to. And they can also give us a text, and it is confidential. They don't have to tell us their name. They could just have a question for us. After that, we've got our website. So if you did want to refer someone to us, you get their permission first. But if you go onto our website and you find Warwickshire Young Persons Drug and Alcohol Service under services, there is a section at the bottom there where you can kind of put your name and number, and we'll contact you. And we're on that every day, well, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And at the bottom there, these are our kind of social media platforms that we use. So we've got our Instagram account. I would say our Instagram is mainly aimed at young people, because we know that's kind of what they like to use. So on there, we've got our newsletters, we've got some activities and stuff for them to do during lockdown at home. We've got some exercise routines for them to do, and also some quizzes. Our Facebook there is, if you want to follow us on Facebook, we do a parent forum. Once a month we're going to do this. So it's a question and answer forum for parents. The last one we did was on nitrous oxide, so laughing gas. And it was really popular. We had quite a few parents asking us questions on that. So if you follow our page, you'll be able to see those events. Our next one is on the 18th of August. We're running one in the day and one on the evening, and that one's going to be on cannabis. And then we've also got our Twitter page as well there, which you can follow again and see upcoming events that we are doing. So thank you everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed it and took something from this today. And if you did need to get in touch with us, please use one of our platforms there to do so. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Take care.